After the team announcements, John and Lilith was setting up their room, while Pyrrha, Ren and Nora enters the room. Then John and Lilith saw them looking at them curiously. John, well, I believe it's time for our introductions. This is my daughter Lilith. Nora was fast to hug the girl. Nora, you're so cute. Oh, and she has a tail. Is she a faunus? What kind? John pulls Lilith away from Nora since she is still uncomfortable with strangers. John, yes, and she's a rabbit faunus. And please don't do that again without Lilith's consent. She is still afraid of strangers. Nora deflated and said, I'm sorry. Ren, you're a bit too young to be a father. John, she's adopted, but she is my daughter nonetheless. Anyone who doubts that claim, I put in the ground understand. Ren, taken aback by the sudden rise in tension, but nods in respect, understanding how protective a parent is of their child. Ren, sorry, I was just curious. John, you do know curiosity killed the cat. Team RWBY room. Blake sneezes. Back to JNPR. Ren, I suppose. Pyrrha, so you're a single dad? John, yes, and my name is John Ark, by the way. Ren, like, Ren. Nora, I'm Nora Valkyrie. Pyrrha, hello, I'm Pyrrha Nikos. As the team got to know each other, they fixed up their dorm room and went to sleep. Next day, the team were done getting dressed with Lilith in casual clothes. They heard a whistle being blown next door. The door to Team RWBY's room opened. John, what's going on here? Ruby, John, we were just making bunk beds. John, that looks like a hazard more than anything. Young, hey, we worked hard making them. John, either way we have first period in 10 minutes. Team RWBY looked at their clocks and then scrambled to get dressed. Team JNPR went ahead to class and waited for their sister team. At the classroom, John, well, seems like the professor is late. Lucky for Team RWBY. Said team quickly enters the room and takes their seats. John, I guess if you're gonna do some team bonding exercise, you should schedule it first. Young, haha, bucket head, yuck it up. John, it's just to tease, not offend. If you feel too insulted, I'll stop right now. Young, oh, you don't have to be that uptight. I was just teasing back. John, I was trained in archaic ways, so I respect women properly. What I said before, although teasing, is an advice of goodwill. Ruby, don't worry, John. Young always goes overboard sometimes. Young, HEY. A portly man enters the room. Port, I am Professor Port. Who here is ready to learn? A few minutes of learning. Lilith was beginning to get bored. John warned her not to listen to the blowhard stories and opted to give her his scroll and headphones to watch educational programs instead. Port, who here wishes to show us what a huntsman truly is? John beat Weiss to the punch and raises his hand first. Port, Mr. Ark, kindly show us how it is done. John leaves for the locker room and he asks his team to watch over Lilith. John walks into the arena in his armor. Port, well, you certainly dress in the old ways. And Port saw the markings and recognized one of the ranch families of the ancient warrior clans. Port reveals a Borbatusk in a cage for his little test. Port, are you ready, Mr. Ark? John, as ready as I'll ever be. Port opens the cage with his blunderbuss axe. The Borbatusk charges at John, but John in blinding speed draw the DL-44 on his right and quickly dispatched the Grim with a shot in the eye and dies immediately. The class was stunned silent. Port, my word! We are in the presence of a true huntsman. John holstered his weapon in typical fashion. John walks back to the locker room. RWBY, did you see that? He was like whoosh bang. Young, yeah, RWBY, we saw. Nora, yeah. Fearless leader. Ren, Nora, calm down. Lilith, that's my papa. Later that day, all happened as Canon Weiss berates RWBY and Ashton's speeches to both of them. Later in Oblek's history class, Oblek was discussing his class in his own speedy while the way. John used his scroll to record the lesson while he shares his book with his daughter and teaches her. Oblek, now who can tell me about the turning point of the war? Weiss raised her hand. Oblek, Miss Schnee. Weiss, the Battle of Fort Castle. Oblek, now who can tell me the advantage the Faunus had during the battle? Cardan threw a piece of paper to John's head but avoided it. He looked at him. In turn caught Oblek's attention. Oblek, Mr. Ark, thank you for contributing to the class. John looked at Cardan suspiciously and began to answer the doctor's question. John, yes, their advantage was night vision. Oblek, that is correct. Thank you, Mr. Ark. Anyone else would like to add? Mr. Winchester. Cardan. PFFF. It's easier to train an animal than a soldier. Piral looks at him indignantly. Cardan, what you got something to say? Piral, you're not the understanding type of person, aren't you, Cardan? Cardan, what did you? Oblek, Mr. Winchester, sit back down. Blake, the general made a colossal error on attacking the Faunus during the night, which led to the general's capture and the loss of the battle. If he paid attention in class, maybe he wouldn't be remembered as such a failure. Cardan, why you? Oblek, Mr. Winchester, stay after class, so I may speak with you about your behavior. Class thus ended.